Hi folks, welcome to another video from aplaintruth.info. It's October 7th out here in nice sunny California, but weather wars continue around the world, as we'll get into in a minute. Today I want to start off talking about a little bit of timeline of history of when the internet was released. Most people don't understand that the internet is only since 1994-95. I believe it was Netscape with the first URL, and it was released by DARPA, the U.S. Military Advanced Intelligence Arm. Released the internet to the public. And then the mass rollout of cell phones started in 1999, and by 2003, the smartphones started to come out as well. Internet bubble, exact same time, massive financing for the rollout got it to homeowners, students, and creditors in massive debt, which continues to this day. Homeowners have massive debt, trillions. Students have $1 trillion in debt. Primary car loans, over $1 trillion in debt. That's how they own us, folks. DARPA's advanced technology, the speeds they released the internet, they achieved 35 years previous. If you don't think the advanced military is so far ahead of us, think about Nikola Tesla, who gave us free energy in 1905. Cars, planes, boats could run on free energy. They won't give it to us for 110 years. Now they're giving us the internet. Schools are being switched to iPad learning and dedicating teachings. Teachers are going to be evaluated through galvanized skin response bracelets, thanks to Bill Gates. As Arnie Duncan, former school education secretary for Obama, said, schools are going to be open 24/7, 365 to save the children while the parents work 2 to 3 jobs in the planning to net our children, as he referred to it. All right, so I get into the internet timeline here in this document, which I'll include in the show notes here, but what I want to bring your attention to is where the changes are going and how fast they are. Google's IPO was 10 years ago. And Larry Page, the CEO, released his 10-year forecast. This was, I believe, in June 2014. And this is his vision. Well, Google's kind of powerful, so you want to listen to these guys. Google's products and services will become the control center of people's lives. Well, Amazon's already in the home with Echo and Nest, and I know Google's just got their new eavesdropping listening devices that everybody will be putting in their home, so you're inviting the government to spy on you, but that's your own personal choice, folks. The companies will be driverless cars. What are we hearing about today, 3 years later? People won't have to bother leaving their homes because they'll have the use of smart appliance. Robots will handle tedious chores. And Google will have, and watches will supplement the smartphones and ensure Google is a constant companion. Isn't that wonderful?
Well, the website YouTube is now manipulating search results without telling you, making it more difficult for users to find videos that YouTube believes are, quote, conspiracy theories. They don't explain what qualifies as a conspiracy theory. Most recently, YouTube was concerned over the number of videos theorizing about the motives of the Las Vegas shooter. Motives, by the way, that we still know nothing about. This move is part of a broader effort by the company owned by Google to cut down on access to what it calls fake news and to guide the rest of us by force to what it deems authoritative sources. YouTube is not a company you'd probably want to trust. It's got a long history of promoting left-wing activism. Its parent company, Google, recently fired one of its employees for daring to question the company's race and gender-based hiring practices. There's still no word on whether antitrust regulators are concerned that the tech companies that host online content are now controlling access to it as well.
Google's going to be with us. All right, in 1998, Kodak Film had 70,000 employees. This is disruptor technology, they call it. Kodak had 70,000 employees and sold 85% of all photo paper worldwide. Within just 3 years, they disappeared and went bankrupt. 1998, nobody would have seen that coming. Digital cameras were invented in 1975. It's expanded greatly. Now it's going to happen again with artificial intelligence, health, electric cars, education, 3D printing, agricultural, and jobs. Welcome to the fourth industrial revolution, or what they're calling the exponential age, which I'm calling slavery and weather terrorism. Software will disrupt, that's their technology, disruptive technology, most traditional industries in the next 5 years. Uber is just a software tool. They don't own any cars, but look at, they're the biggest taxi company in the world in just a few years. Airbnb the same way. They don't own a single hotel. This is the new business model. Artificial intelligence. Computers will exponentially get better at understanding the world. In the U.S., young lawyers can't get jobs. IBM's Watson is giving legal advice that's 90% accuracy compared to 70% accuracy when done by humans. Less lawyers, that might be a good idea. Watson already helps nurse diagnosing cancer. It's 4 times more accurate than human nurses, but they still, after billions and billions and hundreds of billions of the war on cancer, can't figure it out. Hey guys, try hemp oil. It works. All right. Autonomous cars. In 2018, remember he wrote in 2014, first self-driving cars will appear. In 2020, the complete industry will start to be disrupted. You don't want to own a car anymore. They won't let you own a car. Our kids will likely not even get a driver's license because they're going to make the insurance for driving your own personal pollution vehicles more expensive because you're more at risk. And here's how they'll justify it. 1.2 million people die each year. One accident equals 60,000 miles. With autonomous driving, that'll drop to one accident in 6 million miles. So your insurance will cost more. Kids will not be allowed to get cars. By the time their drivers, get old enough, they're going to be driverless cars taking them everywhere. It'll be too expensive. Only the elite will be able to own cars. And you'll be staying at home anyway because that's the way Google, Facebook, and Apple want it. So this was just sent me today from one of the readers, subscribers, Nita Mayfield. You must look at this video. It appears the company Mergers and Machines, these merging companies for scanners in all hotels, schools, you name it, just like 9/11 and the Patriot Act and TSA, feeling everything up at airports. You'll now be subject to crap like this when you go to a hotel. Let me add sporting events. Let me add casinos. So she's saying the casino owner met with the powers that be prior to the event. So basically they staged the event so they can merge these two companies, make these devices and sell them for big dollars. Electric cars will become the mainstream by 2020. Cities will be less noisy because of all the new cars will run on electricity. Well, why do you think they put the weather terrorism along Houston? What's down there? Oil refineries. So they get the insurance, they retool, they got a bunch of homeless people everywhere. And also here, health, the Tricorder X Prize. Remember Tricorder with Star Trek? How did Gene Roddenberry know that flat screens, phasers on stun, cell phones, tricorders, how did they know from Star Trek? Because they planned it, folks. They plan a long, long time ahead. 3D printing dropping from $18,000 to $400. All major shoe companies are using 3D printing already. Robots taking over the world, folks. What are people going to be for? That's what we're going to get into in a minute. 70-80% of jobs will disappear in the next 20 years. There will be $100 agricultural robots in the future. Farmers in the third world countries and then can become managers of their field instead of working all day on their fields. That doesn't make any sense. One manager can manage the whole field with a robot. What are people for? And then we're getting into aeroponics, which is fake food. The first Petri dish produced veal is now available. Synthetic, folks. Well, cheaper than cow-produced veal. Right now, 30% of all agriculture is used for cows, and they cause air pollution, even though the geoengineering is never discussed. Startups who will bring insect protein to market shortly. It contains more protein than meat. The alternative protein, eating insects. There's an app called Moody's, which can already tell in which mood you're in. By 2020, there'll be apps that tell by your facial expressions if you're lying. Think about that one for a moment and how the police would use that one. All right, and I want to bring attention to is how the shift is going, and the United States is under attack, starting with the beginning of World War III on 9/11/01, continuing this day with weather war terrorism, and the gutting of the middle class down to a lower workforce. And BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They're creating their own banks. This is all just controlled opposition. Putin is the same side as Trump. It's all a bunch of noise. They've been working on the same team since way back in World War I with Stalin, and when Averell Harriman went over for 6 months and took over for Stalin, well, he had a psychotic breakdown. The U.S. and Russia have been in partnership. It's a one-world government. Your debt follows you everywhere in the world except 3 countries, North Korea, Syria, and Iran. Everything's cleared through the Bank of International Settlement in Geneva, Switzerland, home of the Rothschilds, bankers for the Vatican. That's the way it works. All right, so they're going to create this new currency here. So not currency, but they're going to be developing their own currencies. There's a plan for 3 currencies. the U.S., continental America, United States, America, Canada. Mexico will have the Amero. We already got the Euro, and then they'll make the Asian currency. This is what this is all about. So this is the BRICS. And I want to bring your attention, folks, to what is going on in Wisconsin, because it's playing into this whole transfer of wealth. The United States is in massive debt. So Foxconn says its plans to build a factory in Wisconsin added 3,000 jobs. And this guy, Paul Ryan, he's the one that broke the labor unions a 3 years ago in Wisconsin, the heart of middle America, just like they had the shelter in place for Boston, the heart of free liberty. They attack you at the heart, folks. That's what they do. So who is Foxconn, folks? Well, Foxconn is the world's largest sweatshop. Let's put it that way. They make all your Apple stuff. All the iPods and the iPads and the iPhones, folks. The unhappy workers sit here for all their days, 6-7 hours a day. Sprawling factory. Employees can't get in without swiping an ID card. Fingerprint scans, the whole bit. Printed on the back of every iPhone, designed by Apple in California, assembled in China. It's the largest employer in mainland China. There are 1.3 million people on the payroll. Only Walmart and McDonald's employ more than Foxconn, folks. And what you want to also understand is that these people are treated like absolute non-human beings. It says here it's not a good place for human beings. They start their life at the beginning in school, and then they go straight to work in the factories. They live in bunk beds. They work 5-6 hours a day. It's inside of all your iPhones, most of your computers. One worker said 1,700 iPhones pass through her hands every day. She was in charge of wiping a special polish on the display. That works out to about 3 screens a minute for 12 hours a day. That's what she does for the rest of her life. They call the Foxconn a fox trap because it tricks a lot of people. The work is grueling. You have to have mental management. When the boss comes down to inspect the work, if they find any problems, they don't scold you. They will scold you in front of everyone in a meeting later. It's insulting and humiliating. Look at this, folks. This is coming to the United States. That's why they raised the minimum wage to $15. That's what everybody's going to be getting as the lower middle class falls into the lower class by design. Foxconn, it got so bad in these factories they had to put suicide nets up, folks. These people were rather than kill themselves than make your iPhones, make your computers, our computers, and these, quote, smartphones. But these factories are massive, 1.3 million people. And this is what they do every day, all day. They work in factories to make our phones for us. This is coming to the United States as the BRIC countries are going to be doing the new consumer debt cycle because that's where the guys make the most money. That's the game they're playing. No, it's not just Apple. It's the rest of the computer makers as well. LG, Life's Good, Samsung, the rest of them. They all use the slave labor shipped to China for assembly by indentured workers. We talked about the committing suicide. U.S. retail getting poverty wages. Well, the retail stores are going away, so they're not going to have to worry about that anymore. And then you have the 666 logo. Here, let me show you this real quick first. The new iPhone coming out is priced at $999, and you flip that over, folks, and what price do you get? But 666. Oh my gosh, this is the exact same price as the first Apple that came out on 770 Welsh Road in Palo Alto, California, 666. And then what I want to bring your attention to is how 666 is used throughout. Here's a United Nations building with 666 in the background, Trilateral Commission, the curvature of the alleged round ball Earth. Look at all the 666s. You take the 23.4 degree angle of the Earth, it works out to 66.6 degrees. You got the monster drink, the 3 slashes, 666, Pampers, Disney, Foxconn, Fox, 666. You can't get away from it. It's everywhere. This is how they roll. This is what they do. All right, so let's roll into... And this is the face of the new McDonald's employees, folks. The baby doomers will not be able to retire. There's no money for retirement. They're getting their wages cut. Robots taking jobs. No one will be able to retire. All part of the plan. All right, so daily news is getting more intense. We got to fight what I'm calling compassion fatigue. And compassion fatigue is you just only care about yourself. You can't help others. But look at all the stories. More surveillance isn't the answer. U.S. tested carcinogenic chemicals on unknowing Canadian civilians. Oh, Elon Musk says he can power Puerto Rico with batteries. I bet the stock rallied on that, and Wall Street hitting all-time highs, even though the U.S. economy lost more jobs in the last month for the first time in 7 years. Well, think about all the unemployed now and the disenfranchised and climate refugees down in the Hurricane Harvey area, in Florida, in Puerto Rico, and now the new one coming to New Orleans we'll get into in a minute. Oh, but we're giving $15 billion for more war while they're telling us they got to take away our guns. And all the baloney bullshit that was the fake Las Vegas shooting. The criminal aspects of the banking system. Wells Fargo's paid hundreds of millions of dollars in fines. And here, J.P. Morgan pays billions in fines for its mortgage fraud by committing billions in mortgage fraud. Anybody, we got to stop supporting these corporations. Unfortunately, everything's a corporation. Now, if you look at the guy Stephen Paddock, that's in a horse name in the neighborhood. That's why you had a guy on TV that had the Neil Young Crazy Horse shirt on. It's all part of the putting us in our reins. But Alex Jones is laying it out, saying the proof of multiple shooters. Alex, you're a disaster. Google Clips automatically identify everyone, including your pets. So, Google's coming out with this new home invasive machine that everybody's going to be putting in.
Bedford? Is that in reference to the Bedford Level experiment? Taking a bite from an apple? Forbidden knowledge? This thing is loaded. Speaking of Google, they worked with the CIA for Google Earth.
All right, here's what looks like
fed into this geospatial application, is what they call it. They are monopolizing maps online. If you go online and you're using maps, you are probably using a Google map. And there's also some sort of sinister and worrying dimensions to Google, because they buy Earth Viewer, which is the application, and that is funded by the CIA.
But let's be real here. Google is most likely a full-on CIA venture anyway. And any semi-decent researcher knows that the CIA is all about disinformation campaigns and completely misinforming the public by way of propaganda. Some people don't believe this quote is real, but you can find Barbara Honegger, the source of this quote, on Quora.com, explaining how this quote came to be. Apparently she overheard it in 1981.
I think I'll do a little more here on the news. House passes $4.2 trillion budget, sets up tax cuts for the rich, and guts Medicare, Medi-Cal. You understand where this is going, folks? Starve us out. We'll beg for jobs. Oh, by the way, there's Maria's dead in Puerto Rico, underreported. The Dow could be so hot that it melts. Amazon forest fires pushing climate change beyond human control. U.S. government's a criminal enterprise. $21 trillion missing. Well, that's the exact number of our budget each year. $21 trillion in debt each year, folks. Our children will never get out of this. And then as far as the end of the world stuff goes, here's Costco. What is Costco doing? But they're selling disaster prep kits now for $1,000 that last 25 years. And if you want, you can get a $3,999.99 and $5,999. So you get 100-gallon cans of wheat, grain, rice, 6,200 servings will last 25 years. They're getting into the disaster capitalism business as well. But here's the poor folks again being nailed in New Orleans. It's tragic what's going on here, folks. Again, to these poor people. We're not even talking about New Orleans. I mean, I went to Houston and toured around the Houston area and saw the devastation of 39 counties. But look how fast this storm moved. Where the other one took 9 days to move up the coast. Bada bing, bada boom, it comes up. Here it is, going from a tropical to a category. And I'll bet we'll be seeing the weather manipulation as soon as it gets on shore. And steer that thing right wherever they want it, causing massive flooding again to those poor people of New Orleans who had another Katrina-style event on August 5th. That was not reported, that you can see right here.